calling all educators with a passion for teaching and a health for faith. Get ready for a transformative journey with the Educators with Oil podcast, where host Ronnette Branham is dedicated to helping teachers become better through biblical strategies.
Welcome, educators. Welcome to Educators with Oil podcast. I'm your host, Ronnette Branham, here to inspire, motivate, and train educators with the wisdom and strategies you need to teach with clarity, confidence, and joy. Don't forget that joy. Every episode is designed to strengthen you, refuel you, and support you in the assignment that we carry. And today's conversation I'm excited about is centered on the most critical need right now in our classrooms, fostering a true sense of belonging in our students. And it's so funny when I think about that. I think even not just our students need to feel that sense of belonging, but we as well, educators, we go into our buildings, we really do want to feel like we belong. When we see a group of people gathering, talking, group of educators, we want to feel like we belong. I remember when I was a substitute, and as a sub, I remember because I had a teaching certificate, so I was trying to be a teacher, but I was subbing long term. Nice to see the teachers, and I really wished I was one of them. Like, it just felt so funny that I looked back and I was like, I thought something great about teachers. I don't know what, but they seemed different, and they were so confident in what they were doing. And so I just thought about that as I prepare for this episode. And so today I am joined by Patrick Fennell. He's the founder and president of Empowerment Solutions LLC, an organization focused on building strong, purpose-driven relationships at all levels. And again, our level with our students, administration, wherever we need. Together, we are exploring how mindset, relationships, and intentional leadership shape the classroom culture and student outcomes. So let's jump into today's conversation with Patrick Fennell. I'm sorry. I know it's Fennell. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. So again, thank you. I got your name right. I knew what it was. I don't know why I said that. It's like I think I kept saying it. And so you know how you get yourself keep saying something and get on that one track. But so can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company before we even get started?
Absolutely. So Empowerment Solutions is a company that I started in 2004. So this February coming up, I guess that'll be 22 years that I've been doing the work. My background wasn't in education initially, so I always wanted to be a psychologist when I was growing up. But my father was an entrepreneur. So he was like, nah, you don't want to be in psychology. You're going to pay all this money to get your schooling. It's hard to find jobs. You want to do something in business. So I got a degree in economics just to get everybody off my back. But eventually I worked with a bank as a branch manager. But the company that I worked with in DC, they really wanted to focus on relationships and being able to build connections so that we could operate efficiently. So they brought someone in to train the entire bank to be able to do that. But the company was too small to train all 3,500 employees within a certain time frame. So they did a train the trainer. I ended up being trained in early emotional intelligence and communication and things like that. So when I got tired of corporate America stuff, that's when I ended up leaving and founding Empowerment Solutions and started thinking that if I could do this work with younger students, imagine how much more impactful it would be than waiting until you're a young adult or working at an organization to try to connect with your passion and your purpose and being able to operate effectively with each other.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it seems so funny. A lot of people leave corporate for education, right? We get our start there. I think we realize that education is key no matter what the background, no matter what the career, that if you're educated, then if you're educating that thing, then you could be successful. So I don't know if that's it, or we were born teachers, born educators, and then we had to go back to what we were born to do. I'm not sure.
I think it
But
makes a combination. There's certain skills that make you successful, whether you're an adult or a child, a teacher, a parent. We all need those skills. And so if we can teach the skills, it doesn't matter what the audience is.
right. So I think that is something that we learn, as we get, as we live. We learn as we live.
Absolutely.
But so economics, what made you go into economics? I know you said your father said business, but economics, you could have a business degree.
Yeah, it was the closest to business that wasn't straight business. So economics about supply, demand, how people see things. So I think all of those things kind of, if I had to do something business related, economics seemed like that connection to people and why do people do what they do. So yeah,
Okay.
never used
I
a
like
degree a day in my life, but it is what it is.
That's funny. It's so many people. I used to hear that. I have a business degree, business
Okay.
administration. So I guess I used it. I don't know. I worked for Verizon Wireless, and I don't know if that I needed it. I needed it to get the job, but it
Mhm.
wasn't. It did. They had to train me.
Right,
They still
exactly.
had to train you. So
Exactly.
so anyway, we want to get into this conversation about sense of belonging. So I have, this is a little, just in a little insight. I don't know if you call it insight, just something that I'm seeing. I have had, I always have to use past tense no matter what. I'm just, students not in my class right now. Students who felt like they don't belong. In my opinion, that's the feeling it, because they say they don't have friends. I mean, it's low. It's second grade. I don't know lower. I told preschool there was always somebody who played by themselves, but I hear students in second grade saying they don't have friends, or nobody will play with them outside, or I don't like school. I want to go home, because they actually are not making friends.
Mm,
So that's why when you mentioned that, as one of your topics that you could talk about, that was one thing that really hit home. And then you watch kids in sports. I have a granddaughter who plays basketball, and now she's in high school. But when I watch the girls, how they think that each other are acting some sort of way. That's what we say,
mm,
sort of way.
mhm,
We act some kind of way.
mhm.
But I believe they're all shy. They're all feeling the same thing. Like they are trying to belong, and they're looking at somebody who's standoffish, but they're not standoffish. They're feeling like you're standoffish. I'm not, but I feel like you are. And that's a thing.
Mhm.
I think that's belonging. So what do you say to something like that?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different reasons. We recognize that when it comes to belonging, essentially it's a need that we all have to satisfy. We all have to feel like we belong to something or somewhere, right? And I think there are a lot of things that have led to what I would kind of call an epidemic. Really, I think it started with it actually there was an epidemic, then we had the pandemic, and now that the pandemic has moved past, the epidemic still never left, right? So I think like the rise of social media and like buttons kind of started to replace those connections that people had face to face and in person. And so it ends up that there are a lot of students that are looking for that sense of belonging, but don't always get it from the places that they're really connected to, which is I post something, I wait for somebody to like it. That like is my social acceptance. That is saying that people recognize me, they hear me. But really it's about how do we develop some of those things in person with each other, because those things can't truly be replaced.
Right. You just hitting me, because I think about that. If I post something, right? The shorts, I post a short and people see it. I don't know the difference. I don't know why. I don't understand, because shorts come through. But I found myself paying attention to that. Before I didn't. Now it's
Mhm.
like, oh. Now, what do? I didn't do this right. Let me try to figure it out. Why? How can I connect? And I don't even know the people out there. Like, I want to connect with people that I don't know anything about. That's weird. I'm gonna say weird. And we are building our lives around stuff like that. And I can imagine this TikTok and Instagram culture, because I'm not really a part. I post something because people told you have to, but I don't go. I that's something, because you feel like people have to notice you. That's wow.
Absolutely.
You touch that, and now I'm feeling it.
And then the way that social media is engineered, it's built on dependence. It's not built on connection. And so you have that dependence because you get that dopamine feedback loop, right? Where I'm looking for that dopamine hit, that somebody likes something that I posted. And so now I continue to do it, but I don't really know when somebody's going to like it and when they're not. So it means I got to constantly look at it. So I'm constantly checking my phone. What are people saying? Where is everybody? Maybe I got to repost it. Maybe I got to do something different because nobody's really responding. And so it kind of builds that desire to be connected. But I think the other piece of it too is that when I was growing up, right, I don't want to age you, but when I was growing up, I would go to school. Sometimes there was a bully in school every now and again, or something would happen. But when 2:30 came and I got on the bus, I'm done. I'm away from school. I can decompress, deconnect, or disconnect, and I can spend some time with my friends, play some basketball, ride my bike, whatever I want to do. But these kids today, they are never disconnected. They're always connected to this feedback loop.
Oh yeah, you said a mouthful, because we used to go outside. We knew who our friends were.
Mm-hmm.
Our friends liked us. Like, we were, we had fun with our friends. So you didn't have to look for outside of, if you lived in a neighborhood that had 25 kids in it, you all knew each other. There's always one child who didn't like connect that well, but we knew them, we talked to them, whatever, but they might not have hang out in the street with us. Maybe not have ridden bikes with us, but this is solely dependent upon somebody liking something that you posted, and then that makes us feel that we're somebody or not somebody. And that's what I want to talk about, that foundation of who sees me, why do they see me, and does it matter? How can I feel like I belong to some people, a group of people I don't even know? And what I have so many questions and so many things that are coming right now based off that, because I'm in the middle of it, and I thought I wasn't. I really thought I wasn't until I think about the podcast, right? I think about the podcast. And yeah, so am I trying to belong, or do I care, or am I just trying to, because I think I'm giving a service, but do I look, you still look at the numbers, you know what I mean? Still look at the numbers. Well, how many people did I help, right? So that sense of belonging, do I feel like an outsider? Because middle schoolers, high schoolers, and like I said, second graders feel like they don't belong, they don't fit, they're not making friends.
Without a doubt.
So where do we go? Where do we start?
So I think there's probably a few things to kind of look at. I think when we're talking with educators, the first thing that I'm really thinking about is being able to recognize what belonging really looks like, right? Because truth is, belonging looks different to everybody, right? And so belonging can look like my students are engaged, right? That my students are able to contribute to a conversation about our class and what we're doing, contribute to setting norms for our classroom, that they are collaborating, that they're able to solve problems and make decisions together, right? So I think being able to even being able to take educational risks where I can speak my mind, or I can share my own ideas. I think we have to be purposeful to look for those things. And in the absence of it, that means that probably should be our first signal that there are some students that don't feel like they're belonging in the very first place.
Oh yeah, because I see it, I hear it, I see it, and I try, and then sometimes we don't have. See, it feels like we don't have time. We don't have time to take the time to like bring you in. You're over there. We're over here. Come on, either come or you're not coming. Like we can get there, and then we still have to be intentional. And because I see when we're reading, just say we're reading or writing, and then students who are not able to, I'm going to say, compete or perform at great level. They're not able to perform at great level, and they know it, and so they feel like I don't fit. They can feel like that. I don't know if they all do. Some students don't notice.
Right.
You have some who don't notice, but is that a sense of something that we need to? Is there a way that we can fix that?
Yeah, I think when you have a student like the one you're describing, essentially a lot of times you end up seeing behaviors start to come out that we don't really like. But a lot of times it's for a student like that, it might be because I'm trying to escape the environment. So if I act out, I don't belong here, everybody else is smarter than me, I don't know what I'm talking about, this is stupid. Let me figure out how to get out of here so I don't have to be embarrassed that I don't know what I think everybody else knows. Right. And so I think sometimes it becomes important for us to look beyond the behavior, because every behavior, there's a need that is behind that behavior.
Yeah, I remember hearing my principal talk about telling me about a student, the things that he would say when he left the classroom, and he did. I had that happen for quite a few times, but this one particular student, used to say he was dumb. Right? He used to say that he wasn't smart. He really was. He really was. He just didn't know. Right? He didn't read on grade level, but he really was able to. You know what I mean? He was really able to, and you can watch him progress. And then I remember having another student who said she couldn't read, so she would really, really, really act up. And yeah, so you're onto something right there. I just feel like there's a lot that we can do that we don't do at this young age to build up that self-esteem, that self-esteem, that self-image. Because once the longer you take to build up that self-image, that self-esteem, it's harder the older you get. Like yeah.
Without a doubt. I think really when we talk about what can we do, there's a lot of different things that we can do. I think it starts off with that there are basically 4 different components to belonging. So if I can be aware of those and then begin to address those individually, that kind of starts to create the culture and the climate for my classroom, and for the school as a whole. So I think one of the first competencies or first components is competency, right? That I need, in order to feel like I belong, it becomes important for us to be able to build skills and abilities. Because if students don't have skills and abilities, they're going to feel like they don't belong. And so it's being able to recognize that we have diverse learners that learn in different ways. And so now, because of that, I have to be mindful to be able to kind of be able to connect with them based on how they learn. But those skills and abilities, that's the foundational piece.
Yeah. And so I had to learn that. When I had the 2 students I was speaking of. I don't have them anymore. One has been a couple of years now. And she said she couldn't read. And then I helped her see she could read, but she didn't read at, the 2nd grade level. So we read what she could read. We made sure, because she knew sounds. She knew the sounds of letters. So we built upon that. And then she had success. When you help them have some successes, I had another child who he didn't know his numbers, but he knew how to count. I showed him how to count on the number line or count on 100's chart till he found that number. Then he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he knows that's a 7. So if he needs to write a 7, he knows, okay, that's a 7 now, and I can write it. So once you build up that confidence that he can do, I think you're right. That made a big difference.
It definitely does. And I think in those skills and abilities, I think we also want to make sure that we incorporate how helping students to be able to communicate. their thoughts, their feelings, being able to have conversation, because those are skills that when we were growing up, that happened naturally. We didn't have social media, so we had to interact with each other. But now students today don't always have a lot of practice in that face-to-face communication, recognizing what my body language does, or what my tone of voice means to people, or the words that I actually choose. And so I think being able to develop those communication skills is also an important element of that whole being able to be competent.
Yeah, I talk now. I'm talking about grown-ups. I'm talking about right now. I had a conversation, and that things that were lacking. We don't have we didn't have the social media, but a lot of times parents didn't. There are a few parents, I'm gonna say, that I know, didn't really talk to their kids. You remember we used to stay at a room when grown-ups are talking, and you sit back. So they didn't really talk. They told us what to do, right? So that a lot of times communication skills were not built up the best way in certain families. I'm just gonna say certain families. Right. I remember some things, and but yeah, that communication. So then it lags over into our adulthood, where we are not great communicators, and then how can we? It has issues for us. So we want to stop that. We want to nip that in the bud, per se, with our students.
Right.
Build those communication skills.
Absolutely. Communicating. How do we relate to others, especially if we don't agree or have the same perspective, right? Being able to connect based on the environment itself. So I think it's the culture and climate of the school, but it's also the culture and climate that we create in individual classrooms too, because that feel that you feel when you walk into a classroom, it could be different from one classroom to the other. And so as teachers have the ability to control the climate and create one where students feel heard, where they feel valued, where we are able to understand each other. We don't have to agree, but that we respect one another. And so those things go a long way towards building the competencies to feel that sense of belonging.
Right. Because not me, but sometimes you can have that one student who really doesn't feel like they fit in. They could, I'm not gonna say rub you the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. They act out in a way, and you're like, oh, you have to help make them feel like supported and safe. At the same time, they're acting out, and you still have to be wise enough to figure it out. I'm gonna say figure it out so that they can fit. That you have less of those behaviors. That's the thing. I'm thinking, you see my eyes like looking up. Yeah, that's the thing. Really, because of the behaviors, then you want to say, okay, you got to do something, and then you have to have that wisdom to fix it so that they don't have to. Because I do know giving the students wins helps me with that student. Okay, we're gonna sit down and work with you today, and they like that.
Oh yeah,
because they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like somebody cares, they feel like they. So yeah. So you said there's 4 components that you talked about?
Yeah. So skills being the first. And I guess my last thought about skills is that a lot of times people will talk about like the 5 domains of social emotional learning. I think they're all connected to what we're talking about as far as building skills. So building my self-awareness, so I can be aware of myself and the things that I like, the things I don't like, my tone of voice, all those things, just being aware of myself. And then how do I manage myself even when I'm angry or even when I'm frustrated, right? So how do I manage myself? Because if I can't manage myself, it's hard to make those connections where we build belonging when I'm always flying off the handle, right? Then that third domain in the Castle 5 is that problem solving, responsible decision making. So when I'm able to do that, and I think I'll probably talk a little bit later on, but when people are able to connect with their purpose, then they feel that sense of belonging because I'm doing things for a reason, right? And then the other two, just the relationship skills and just being socially aware of my surroundings, aware of other people. Because if I want belonging, I have to be able to give it in order to receive it.
Okay, so that sounds great. That sounds great. But I have 7-year-olds. How does that translate to a 7-year-old? Because we have this. We're doing. Nah, I can't think. You know the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, but we have the children's version, Leader in Me, right? So
Mhm.
we're trying to build those leadership skills. And so, how does that translate? The skills, I know a teacher, an educator can help the student gain certain skills, um, can gain certain skills. So, what? How does this translate? How does this translate for a second grader? Because
For
I have
younger,
second graders; they're 7.
for younger students, that self-awareness is still, it could show up in being able to build an emotional vocabulary, right? So if I can't express how I feel in words, I'm going to show it in my actions. And so being able to build that emotional vocabulary so I can, and then being able, everybody's always starting off with sad, mad, and angry, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you move on to other feelings like frustrated or annoyed. And so as we start to build their emotional vocabulary, then they can become more aware of what they're feeling. So then that's going to lead me into, how do I manage myself? So when I'm angry, maybe I can just take a few deep breaths before I actually say something, right? And so it could be things like that, small things that are small, that kind of build their own awareness. And once I'm aware, then I can make a better choice for how I act or how I behave, which then says if I'm someone that people have the ability to connect with or not.
Nice. Yeah, we teach that. Actually, we teach that.
Mhm.
And then we even have that where I'm too emotional right now to discuss it. You can
Right.
go sit on a big beanbag chair in the quiet corner and decompose, right? You can read a book. You can sit back and just relax if that's all you need to do until you get yourself together. Then you come back and discuss what it is that's bothering you or not, or making you excited that you can't really, because you can be excited and can't function in the classroom. You're so excited about what's going to happen or what you're going to do, and that you can't. It's hard to participate in the task at hand. So
Right.
I've had that too. They're so excited. I can't wait. I can't wait. Is it time? Is it time? Okay, but you're gonna have to relax for a minute because we're not there yet.
Mhm.
So I like that. Once they get that vocabulary up, understand this is excited. This is calm. This is sad. This is disappointed. So
Exactly.
once they gain that, understand what it actually looks like, because you can know the words.
Mhm.
Because just say for I said a word. Nah, I forgot the word, but I said a word, and this little boy said, "I think you mean something else." Now he's 7, and I said, "No, actually, that's not what I meant. The words were the same, except one letter. I forgot. I can't think what the word was." But he was like, I don't think you mean that. You should, like I said it wrong.
Mm,
But it was just a word. One letter was off, but
right.
it meant something totally different. And so they can know these words, but they have to understand what it looks like.
Absolutely.
So I like
Absolutely.
that vocabulary, building the vocabulary, because that has the definitions with it.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that second thing, right? So it starts with skills and competencies. But the second thing is kind of we have to be purposeful to create opportunities for students to be able to connect, right? So um, doing collaborative work or pair shares, or um, allowing students the opportunity to interact with each other, to problem solve, to work on something together, is being purposeful about creating those opportunities. And if we don't create those opportunities, they often aren't seeking them out on their own. And so that's something that we can definitely do in the classroom. And then they start to kind of build some of that social capital by connecting and talking and getting to know each other and understanding people's strengths and how do we put people in a place of strength. So all those things, we can create that. And then also kind of being supportive of some of the social networks and maybe some informal supports. So maybe there are certain groups that, or clubs or things like that, that would allow that we can create opportunities for people just to connect and get to know each other.
Yeah, because I like the fact that we have a school who has different clubs where students who would never know each other, would never talk to each other. Like we have a STEM club coming up in January. These students, second and third graders, they wouldn't know each other. They wouldn't have a reason. They don't eat lunch together. They don't go to recess together. But because of STEM, they're going to be able to come together. Or even in the classroom, parent students up differently than they would pair themselves. Like I'm with my friend. So I had to change a student's seat because he couldn't see. He just kept saying he couldn't see. And I tell him, well, sit here because they can move where they want in my classroom. Sit where you can see. I don't know what you want me to do. Just find a seat that you can see and go to it. But he said it all the time, and then there was no seats left in the front. So I had to switch seats. So now he's talking to people who he would not normally talk to right now because I moved him because he came in with the best friend who they were in class together since kindergarten, and now they're not sitting together. So it's created a new dynamic where he can have a conversation with the two students he's sitting next to, where he would never had that connection. That way you can see who you can connect with more people, like you said, and you can have those are creating opportunities, and that's what I did. And I look back and see that is something that's a good thing to pair the students in a different way than they would normally generically go to.
I think what you're saying is critical because they will often gravitate to who I know, who I'm most comfortable with, and never make some of those connections. So I kind of sometimes I like to do things like, like back in the day they used to do like speed dating, right? So kind of like having something like that in class where maybe there's a question that we're going to discuss and you just rotate. So you talk to one person for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to rotate. Maybe it's the same question, maybe it's a different question, but giving everybody an opportunity to talk to everybody, right? And so
that's a good idea.
Things like that we want to, because truth is, I think it's important to have getting to know you opportunities all year round. Right? I know a lot of times we want to do getting to know you right in the very beginning of the year, but truth is that sometimes we get new kids. Sometimes kids are always changing, right? And so relationships are always changing. So we have to be purposeful to take time out to get to know each other all year round. And so I think doing different activities that make it fun, but actually give them opportunity are great ways to kind of build that sense of belonging.
Yeah, I like that. I listen and then I'm like, can I fit that in? Can I try that? Can I do that? I could do that during when we have turn and talk. Okay, you're not just going to turn and talk. You're going to stand up, move to another seat, and then you're going to turn and talk. So half of you, of course, have to move. So I like that idea because that works in high school for real, middle school, really. Because second graders, they'll talk to whoever. You have that student who talks to anybody. You're like, I'm gonna move your seat, move them 5 times, and he's talked to everybody. He talks to everybody.
Whoever's closest, that's it.
Yeah, but high school, those students really, because they talk to who they want, and they don't want to talk to who they don't want to talk to, and that is a great opportunity to meet somebody, right? You're Absolutely. Cool all this time you were cool, that type of stuff. So I like that.
Absolutely. And I think that probably connects to the third piece, which is getting to understand a student's motivation to belong, right? Because there are some that are kind of standoffish, some that are more open. So sometimes it has to do with personality. We recognize that everybody's motivation is different, but we want to be able to also recognize that belonging doesn't look the same for every student too. So for some students, we talk all the time. That means I belong. For other students, it's like, well, when we talk, do you understand who I am and what I'm saying or where I'm coming from, without you judging me, right? And so I think it looks different for everybody. And so we want to be able to kind of help students to see the similarities that they have. I think we're in a society that is so focused on what's different that we don't always recognize that we have a lot of similarities as well. And when I can connect on those similarities, it starts to create that sense of belonging for everybody.
Right. I remember listening to two preachers. They were talking on a talk show. They used to have talk shows back in the day, like with ministers on. And one, he was dead set on saying we're different because of their denominations, right?
Yeah.
And the other one was like, no, I promise you, we have a lot in common because they have to, right? They can preach in each other's churches, but when they get down to that doctrine, but it was so weird to me back then that one wanted to focus on the differences and the other one was like, we have a lot in common, you know. And so that is true. We want to focus on what's different. I'm not like you. This is my group, right? You have to be aware that I am here and this is what I stand for, and you're a person. So that's something we have in common, right? You live in whatever state you live in, that's something in common. You bleed if you get cut. So what are we talking about here? So yeah, that is something we want to focus on. What's different? I found out something. I went to the doctor today. I already knew that there are some things that different people from different regions of the world, some genetic markers that you have in common because of where you're from. Like there's West Africa, where my people are from. Just I happen to know that, right? They have something in the white blood count that has this neutrophil. I'm just into deep. They have something that protects them from malaria.
Okay.
I have that, right? I have that. So I didn't know until my doctor told me because we trying to figure out some things. And then you go back and you find out there's a lot of people who, my doctor today, different doctor, he's like to Google stuff and he's like, look, there's this amount of people who have this. Like he named how many percentage of people over there in West Africa who have this genetic marker. And it was phenomenal. Like how many people, like 90% plus of the people share the same genetic markers that I do. And it's just for protection. And so it just was weird. Like we want to be so different, but even if you're different, there's so many people have the same DNA per se, as you do,
And I'm not saying to denounce how you identify yourself, but being able to also listen to how other people identify themselves as well, and respecting how they see themselves as opposed to labeling you based on my own set of values or beliefs.
Right. Well, that comes where we talk about that we are the same. We are the same. You believe in what you believe in, I believe in what I believe in. Let's stand on that, right? So I can't make you change, so don't make me change. That's something we should have in common. I don't want you to tell me what to do, how to live, like so I think that's a similarity. I understand how we want, like I said, we want to find that thing that's so different. So that does help you belong. Like, okay, you believe in that, that's fine. Because like I said, you can have preachers who are Christian. You could have teachers who teach English. You could have math teachers who teach math, and they could teach everything different. They could talk about something different, but they still teach math, right? So yeah, I like this conversation. So again, I'm gonna go back to my little ones to make it stick. So we want to talk about what we have in common. We want to help them to gain their vocabulary. What's one more thing that we could help a small child understand to make them feel like they belong?
Yeah, I think for small children, I think the ability to have responsibility in the classroom also helps me feel like I belong, right? Because I have a role, I have a purpose here. And so I think being purposeful about, and then again, rotating roles and shifting things, because we don't want to get to a place where I have my favorites, or I give this child, this student, they always get an opportunity to do X and Y, but never get a chance to do Z. And so I want to be able to make sure that those opportunities are available. But I think responsibility can also lead to that sense of belonging because I'm contributing to something larger than just me.
Yeah, that's those jobs. You know,
Hmm.
as soon as I tell my students, you're gonna get fired. If you don't do your job right, you're gonna be fired. That you fired, right? I have fired some people.
That's it. Because if
But
you are
every
a part of a community and you have a role, if you don't do your role, then other people suffer. And so it's about learning that a sense of belonging also should be connected to a sense of accountability and responsibility. I'm responsible for a duty, but I'm accountable for my own actions. And so I think those become critical for us. That for smaller kids, I think that's a great way to be able to kind of build some of that sense of belonging as well.
Yeah, that you hit that when you said that because our jobs are important. Like
Hmm.
we have 5 door holders. We have to have 5
Yes.
because we pass through 5 doors. And
Okay.
then one time a student he didn't want to hold the door. He wanted to be the line leader. We don't have a line leader. How you gonna be the line leader? You got to hold the door, right?
Right.
And so he thought he was tricking us. Oh well, you're gonna be fired, right? And he learned from that mistake because every
Uh-huh.
door he went to, he didn't want to hold it. Why? That's your job. You
Right.
chose that job. So
Right.
then he wasn't the door holder for a minute. Like, no, you can't have that job because you don't want to do it. Now he's able to handle it because he felt
Hmm.
like I guess he didn't fit because everybody else is doing their job. And so I have computer cart. Computer cart person has to plug in all the computers and lock the card up at the end of the day. Oh, I come back. Wait, what? You didn't even plug in the computer? Oh, I don't think you want this job. And
Hmm.
other students would take it so seriously because they would be fired. I tell them all the time, oh, you fired, right? But they love it. They like to choose their job. Every single week they get to choose their job. There's a teacher's helper, messenger, all kinds. But they feel like they have a job to do. And just so happen I have the right amount of jobs for the right amount of students. Because
Okay.
before, when I had larger classes, there was too many students for jobs. So that
Mm-hmm.
is you're right about that. When they feel like they belong, they have a purpose in the classroom, and they're accountable for their job because everybody knows your job.
That's it.
Everybody knows. Oh, she didn't change the calendar. Right, right. Oh, I like that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
So
like that.
yeah, I think a couple other things. Well, we talked about motivation. I think the last one is just perception, right? So how people experience what they experience. It's a big factor in building that sense of belonging. So in other words, like there are certain students that might be in what would be deemed as the out group, right? Whatever that happened to be, whether it's racially or whether it's my sexual orientation or whatever it is that I'm just seeing, or how I process information, or am I in special education or general ed, or am I in gifted and talented? So a lot of those different things start to kind of give a person, they start to connect with cues based on how they see themselves, right? So our perceptions of who we belong to, and if I belong to a group or if I'm on the outside of that group, perceptions go a long way. And so it means that we have to be able to be purposeful about building or listening to student voice, because how I see myself, it's important for me to share that with you, because then as certain things happen, if I feel like I'm on the out group, then I take certain things that happen differently than someone else may. And so
Right.
for everybody to be involved, but because you don't feel like you're a part of the group, now you feel like I'm not paying attention to you because I'm not a part of this group. And so we have to be mindful to kind of check in with students, understand some of their perceptions of where they fit in, where they belong, how they're making those connections. Those are important things as well.
Right, and that's something that we have to do as a community. It has to be part of our culture in
Mhm.
in a school system, right? In a particular school, in a school district, it has to be the culture because, like we're doing the leader in me. Every teacher should be working on the same, I'm going to say standards, I don't know what it's called, the same topics. We're talking about helping, being kind. Just say we're talking about being kind this week. We're talking about looking at the with the end in mind, and that sense of belongingness. So if the whole school is working on that, that makes a difference, because it would travel with the student. Because if I don't learn this in second, third, fourth grade, I get to the seventh grade, it's going to be harder. It's a little different. So I think culture does that. So do you go into different schools with this? Do you go into actual schools?
I do. I go into different schools. I do a lot of work with helping them be purposeful about building a positive culture and climate. And so part of that work, it's going to be there's going to be like a survey, a culture and climate survey, to kind of understand those perceptions. We're going to break down the data to be able to deaggregate the data so that we can see different groups and how they feel about and how they perceive the climate itself. We'll create an adult team, but we're also going to create a student team. And the student team and the adult team come together to look at the data and then determine what are some shared values that we have. What are some things that should be important to all of us in this community, and then creating a vision for what we want the school to look like. And then we begin to do the work. We're finding opportunities after we share information with all the adults and all the students, get some feedback. Then we start implementing plans to be able to do things that help people feel connected.
Is that older students or elementary as well?
I've worked in elementary, middle school, high school as well.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in Trenton?
I'm not too far from Trenton. I'm probably about 25, 30 minutes from Trenton. So that's actually a short ride. I go all over the state. I'm in Pennsylvania, New York. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have a relationship with Trenton Board of Education?
Not yet, but we can definitely we can change that. I would love to.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because we have people who come in. It's just coming in and staying in.
Got it.
Creating that. We do have the leader in me. We do have that. That's there. We started that a couple years ago, maybe 2 years. I don't know if it's 2 years. Maybe it could have been last year. But we did start with that. So we're working on it. If everybody's doing it, sometimes, but it has to be a culture, because our students spend a lot of time on. I asked a student yesterday. We had a snow day. We didn't have a snow day. He had delayed opening, and the student didn't come to school. And I asked him, "What did you do?" And he said, "I was playing on my computer." Well, what were you playing on your computer all day? He said, "I don't know, playing games." He just was that. And so we have students who are on the computer a lot, and then they're gaining their social skills from that, which is sometimes it's mine. This is mine. I have a student, he didn't know that the books in this certain level were not only his. He saw another student getting the books, because I said, "This is where you get your books from, right here." He saw a student getting books. He's like, "These are my books. What are you doing? Like, why are you touching my books?" He didn't even understand that is what. What happened? He didn't understand that is what it was. So having that connection with those communication skills, learning, having that leadership in me, those leadership in me skills. So he's gonna be back. I don't know what happened, if his technology died or something. But we do have Patrick Fennell. He's still here. He'll be back. And so that is just something that it's a benefit to have it as a culture in the school. Like we have Leader in Me. That is from like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's the children's version of it. And knowing that you have that, as a culture will help your students along the way. It will help them. It will help them as they get older. It definitely will. So I filled this in. I kept on going. How the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People translates to Leader in Me for our students, and if we build it up as a culture, then that's the step in the right direction to having productive adults, productive citizens, because you start young and you keep building it, and then it has to be that cultural thing. It can't be this teacher's trying it, then when you get to third grade, there's nothing. So I can appreciate that. So anything you want to take us out with, you want to share? I didn't write the email address. I'll put it in the comments on YouTube. But how we could connect with you if we are interested, I'll put it in the comments as you tell me. And you want to leave us with last words for what do we do to build up this sense of belonging in our students, and then how we connect with you. I'm going to take me off stage so that I can type and I won't look like.
No problem. No problem. Excuse me. I think some of the couple small things that we could definitely do as well. Just recognizing that belonging is built on small moments and gestures, right? That being able to build that trust where I'm accumulating some small signals that need to continually be fed, so that that belonging, that sense of belonging, is something that we're continually working on. And the two most important cues that most people don't even really think about or take for granted are a smile and eye contact, right? And so being able to do those things, teaching manners, all those things help to build that sense of belonging. Also being able to cultivate an attitude of gratitude for students. There's so many things going on in the world and around us that sometimes I feel like I need to withdraw or retreat because there's just too much going on. And so if I can find things that I really am thankful for that can help me to reconnect, or even have a motivation to reconnect with people, that is not just for no reason that I connect with people because everybody is doing their own thing, that we're all divided and all that good stuff. I think we talked a little bit about that purposeful group, right? So creating a purposeful group, but also having those shared values becomes important. And then I think building the ability for peers to acknowledge each other becomes important, because a lot of times in the classroom, all the kids are looking to the teacher, right? But if we can find ways to give signals that I appreciate what you said, or I heard you and that's a great point, or being able to acknowledge when someone took a risk or someone contributed to the community, if we can teach peers to be able to acknowledge each other, then that goes a long way towards building belonging as well.
Oh, I love that. We had someone in the classroom today, and the students worked on a little project, each of their own, and the instructor shared one at a time, and she said, "Well, tell them something that you like about what they did," and so that made them feel good. I remember when one little boy, she was describing his work, and then as she said it, he kept looking at me when she said something, see what I try to keep a straight face. But then when some things she said something about how he wrote his words, separated a space between each word, he knows that we were working on that. So I had to raise my hand and say, I love how he did that. So he was really grinning, but it just was like that acknowledgement, not just from me, but from his peers. He kept looking to me, but the students said something too. But yeah, they love to be acknowledged. I like that.
Yeah, when my peers acknowledge me, that goes even further.
Yeah, and that's what she did. But I had to raise my hand only because I didn't raise my hand all the time, but because of that, I had to let him know that I saw that he practiced what we were working on, and he actually executed on that, because he was writing all his words all scrunched up together. And then when somebody else came in new and saw that, he separated. I don't know why she said that, because she did. Everybody writes like a space between each word, but he did, and she noticed that. And so how can we get in contact with you if we want you to come to our school?
Absolutely.
Our district.
Yeah, you can email me at patrick@empowerment-solutions.com. So it's patrick@empowerment-solutions.com.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in the comments. Make sure I put that. And so I really appreciate you. Let me make sure I spell it right. Patrick. Okay, so I put it in there. Then I want to put it in. I put it in the comments. That's actually on YouTube.
Okay.
So,
Fantastic.
thank you. I appreciate you. This is a great conversation, which will spark other conversations, because that's just getting started. Now we want to get down and do like a workshop. How do we make this, applicable to, make this practical, right? Practically apply this in our classroom and continually do it. We have to be intentional. So I really appreciate this episode. I appreciate you coming in and sharing with us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Definitely look forward to coming back anytime and continuing to talk.
Yeah. We always have to have some resident people. Like we have a resident doctor. We have to have a resident culture and climate. Like we come back and discuss, what do we do? How did that work? If it worked, then what can we tweak? Because we're gonna always have students. Every student has a personality. Every teacher has a personality. So yeah, we'll have to have you come back, and we're gonna hone in on one skill, right? Make that work. Okay. 2 skills, right? That's what we need to do. So I just want to again thank you.
It's my pleasure.
I just want. I'm sorry. I'll keep on talking, right? So for everybody, thank you for joining us on Educators with Oil podcast. I hope that today's episode was an encouragement, right? And that you understand that you are anointed for this work. You are called for this assignment, and that you never teach alone. You always take that oil with you. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share this episode with another educator who can benefit from this conversation. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Educators with Oil podcast on your preferred platform and join Ronnette on this mission to empower teachers through the wisdom of the Bible. Because when biblical strategies meet the classroom, extraordinary teaching happens.
Educators, let's shine a light on our classrooms. See you on Educators with Oil podcast, where teaching and faith unite.